labels. Now, the history of collaborations between the gaming and music industries is vast, it's complex, it goes back decades. But in this presentation, I'm really going to focus on some of the more recent opportunities that have arisen for artists and labels. But let's start with some background. So in 2020, global recorded music industry revenues were estimated to be around $22 billion, and that was according to the IFPI in March of 2021. Now, compare this to global gaming industry revenues, which were estimated to be $160 billion in 2020. Now, there's a number of caveats here. Firstly, that a more accurate estimate for the size of the global music industry would also include additional sectors such as live and publishing. Now, the pandemic has, of course, put a pretty massive dent in live revenues. If we look back to 2019, the live music industry contributed around $23 billion. So a more accurate figure for the global music industry revenues might be closer to $60 billion. But that's still much smaller than the $160 billion we see in the gaming industry. But the main point that I want to get across is not that the gaming industry dwarfs the music industry, but that its size means that there are huge opportunities for collaboration that are now available to the music industry. And these opportunities are going to continue to grow. The gaming industry is expected to reach $200 billion by 2023. So there is really a growing sector for the music industry to take advantage of. Now, here's an interesting graph from the Visual Capitalist, which breaks down global gaming industry revenues. So I just want to highlight a couple of points here. The first is that the most striking area of growth in the last 15 years has been with mobile gaming, which is this red section here. And you can see that revenues for that sector are now accounting for just over 50% of global gaming industry revenues. And this is really driven by the penetration of smartphones globally. In this graph, we also see some burgeoning new sectors. So you can see these two small pink and purple lines at the top, which account for cloud and VR gaming, which are some of the new frontiers of the gaming space. Okay, so I mentioned that I want to kind of discuss some of the newest opportunities for artists and labels in the gaming space. But we're going to start with an area with quite a long history. So gaming syncs have a very long history in the music space. FIFA and Grand Theft Auto are two games with reputations for really great and iconic soundtracks. FIFA especially is one that's known for championing new artists. These opportunities across sync and licensing are now across not only traditional gaming formats like console and PC, but also mobile gaming, VR, cloud gaming, etc. In recent years, we've also seen an explosion in the number of titles on offer. Now, this has been driven by a few factors, such as the democratization of development tools in the gaming space, but ultimately more titles means that there's more opportunities for artists, labels and publishers at different scales. So in other words, the opportunities no longer exist for only top tier artists. Smaller and mid-tier artists can also seek out these sync and licensing opportunities. And an area that's really exploded in recent years is licensing music for gamer live streams and also esports, which we're going to look at next. So as I said, gamer live streams are a significant area of growth. And essentially what this is that gamers, when they're live streaming themselves, want to use music when they're playing games and streaming themselves on platforms like Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Now, as many of you will know, there's been a series of disputes around gamers using unlicensed music, which then causes their videos to get taken down or muted. And Twitch has really been a platform that's come under fire for this. But the key thing to get across is that if these issues are resolved, there's a really big opportunity to generate mass exposure for the music that's being used in these live streams, because these gaming influencers have massive international audiences. So there is a real opportunity there for the music industry. And we've already seen some labels, particularly in the dance space, so labels like Monster Cat and Juna Beats and No Copyright Sounds, that have been able to come up with creative licensing solutions. So Monster Cat, for example, have a service called Monster Cat Gold, which is a $5 a month subscription, which allows streamers to use Monster Cat's music for free, claim-free on Twitch and YouTube. Okay. So talked about sync and licensing. The next thing I want to talk about is immersive virtual experiences. And these are those big budget performances in games that we've seen in the likes of Fortnite, Roblox, and Minecraft. In the music sense, these immersive experiences have so far been artist performances where the real world artist is broadcast inside the game. We've also had avatar performances like in the Travis Scott and Lil Nas X examples, where the artist is represented in-game as an avatar and performs as the avatar. And we've also seen some examples of virtual worlds that are almost like in-game exhibitions, allowing fans to kind of dig through and discover more about the artist. We've seen this in the case of Island Records and Disclosure's Minecraft world that was created for their recent album. These virtual experiences have enabled artists to connect with new and different audiences, tapping into the game's audience. And we've really seen this as a growth mechanism for, artists like Travis Scott. And to go into this in more detail, after these in-game experiences, we see cross-platform streaming and engagement growth. So to give you just a quick example of this, during Travis Scott's performance in Fortnite, a new song was premiered, a song called The Scots, and that track subsequently went to #1 in the US. So we're seeing direct correlation between one of these artist performances and really solid streaming and engagement growth. Yeah, and we're seeing companies pop up that are helping artists to develop these experiences as well. The likes of Melon Development and Blockworks are working directly with labels to develop these kinds of experiences. Now, at the moment, the top tier artist experiences, looking at Marshmello and Travis Scott and Lil Nas X, are very expensive to put on. Often costing tens of thousands of dollars. But there are now growing opportunities for smaller artists with lower budgets. And we're also seeing kind of brand sponsorships getting involved as a way of actually bringing these experiences to fans. So let's now look at an example of one of these experiences. And this was the Why Don't We launch party, which was a virtual concert event in Roblox in March of 2021. And this event was for the promotion of Why Don't We's sophomore album, The Good Times and the Bad Ones. The event was created by Melon Development, one of those companies I've just mentioned. And they've also put on other experiences like the Ava Max concert or the Zara Larsson concert, both of which were in Roblox. Okay, so to give you an idea of what the event was about, the concert started with this big countdown clock, and there was a virtual world to explore within Roblox. In this world, there was, an in-game scavenger hunt, other mini games, and also the ability to unlock exclusive digital merchandise like a badge if you completed the scavenger hunt. In terms of the actual performance, the band were streamed pre-recorded content into the game, and they performed 4 songs as themselves. So this is an example of a real-world artist performance as opposed to the virtual avatars that we've seen in the Lil Nas X experience, for example. Throughout the concert, the band members were active in the chat. They were interacting with the audience, and this interactivity is a really important part of putting on a really engaging event. And after the Q&A, after the launch party, there was a Q&A where the band talked about some of their experiences playing Roblox. Now, the point I want to highlight is that all the band members at the time were under the age of 23. The youngest band member, Zach Heron, was 19 at the time, and was actually someone who grew up playing Roblox. And this kind of crossover between the gaming and music space is only going to get more common as we see artists kind of who have grown up with, gaming in its current form. And this is a really huge opportunity because, in the research that we've carried out, when an artist is visibly buying into the gaming experience and, sharing their experiences playing the game, that's when you create a really engaging experience. Other things that were available during this concert were virtual merch items, and these make up a really important part of these events. So you could buy hats, guitars, backpacks, skins of the band members, You can even get a COVID-safe mask to wear during the concert experience. And these items were made available for purchase with Robux, which is Roblox in-game currency. For reference, the avatars were the most expensive item at 350 Robux each. And you can buy Robux for, you can buy around 400 Robux for $499, which kind of puts into perspective how much these virtual items cost. And, you know, there's been news recently of Lil Nas X generating huge amounts of revenue purely from these virtual merch items. So they are a really important source of revenue as part of these virtual experiences. As with a number of, you know, with all these virtual experiences that you'll see, influencer collaborations are really key in the promotion of the event. In this example, you can see a gaming influencer called Megan Plays, who has over 3.5 million subscribers on YouTube, playing Adopt Me, which is a massive multiplayer online game built on Roblox. And she's playing this game with the band member I just mentioned, Zach Heron. And it's kind of an informal interview where Zach and Megan are playing the game together. And again, the point here is that these gaming collaborations and the tapping into these influencer networks is a really powerful way of promoting these events and generating that exposure. Okay, now finally, I'd like to discuss artists being gamers in their own right, which is something I just touched upon, but I want to go into more depth on. So to reiterate the point, as younger artists who have grown up with gaming come through, there will be more natural opportunities that arise. And we've already seen some artists streaming themselves playing games on platforms like Twitch. For example, German DJ and producer Zed regularly streams himself playing games like Valiant and Fall Guys. So he's a musician, but also live streams himself playing games. And these kind of crossovers are only going to become more common. As discussed, a good gaming experience is key to their use as a successful marketing channel. So having a gaming experience, which at its core is really exciting, then serves as a useful baseline for that gaming experience to be used as a marketing channel. Artists that really understand the gaming world are therefore going to be able to create better experiences. Another thing that we might see in the future is artists which actually have gaming management alongside music management. An example here is an agency and record label called Off Meta, who are an agency with relationships with major esports tournaments. And one of their first signings was a Canadian artist called Baby No Money. And Baby No Money actually has both artists and gaming management. And, you know, artists already have multiple management arrangements already. So they might have a tour manager, a business manager, a talent manager. And we might see a kind of gaming manager be one that we see being more common as part of this mix. And finally, as part of this, streaming services and labels will continue to invest in games. And this will mean ultimately that there are more opportunities for artists who have an existing interest in games to make the best use of these partnerships between the labels and the gaming space. So artists with an interest are going to be able to utilize these opportunities more successfully. Okay, and I want to give you an example of a label that I think is doing a really good job in the gaming space. And this is a Norwegian independent label called 777 Music. They're probably known for their biggest artist is Boy Pablo, and they have a really great history of putting on music and gaming crossover events. So, for example, to celebrate Boy Pablo's Spotify singles release, 777 hosted a 6-hour FIFA live stream in which they answered questions and also hosted a FIFA 19 tournament. Not a huge amount of budget that went into it, but again, tapping into these networks of gamers as opposed to just focusing purely on music. 777 also hosted a virtual concert in Minecraft where they had DJ sets from artists who were also present in the game as in-game avatars. And this event was called 777 Club Online Minecraft Edition, and it actually happened in the very early days of the pandemic back in March 2020. More recently, though, they've actually become the first independent label to launch an esports team called 777 Esports. And as part of this, they've signed professional gamers as well as streamers and content creators to join this collective. Now, we've seen a lot of the majors set up kind of gaming focused sub labels in the past, but this differs slightly into what 777 are doing, where 777 has actually launched a dedicated esports team that is actually competing in tournaments. And the logic here from 777's owner, Fabio Enzo, is that 777 esports will open up more paths into the gaming and esports worlds for 777 Music's artists. So 777 Music is its own record label, and by launching 777 esports, there's hope that this is going to kind of generate more opportunities for the record label in the gaming space. Okay, so that was very much a whistle-stop tour of what we think are some of the most exciting developments in the gaming space. Thank you for having us. If you have any questions about anything I've talked about, please email us at training@musically.com.